So we are giving him a few minutes, and then we will start. Good? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. I'm Willis Brown, and I'm president of the Bronzeville Neighborhood Association. And we're glad that everyone is here and getting ready for the holiday season. And we have a lot to discuss here about the neighborhood development and things that are going on right before our own eyes. But again, welcome and thank you for being here. And just to remind everyone, our meeting is the second Saturday of every month, right here at 3 o'clock. And so we wanted to let you know that. We've streamed them live, so you can catch us on our website. And also you'll be able to see things that we do on the Bronzeville Communications Network. That's also here. You will have information about that later in the meeting and what we're doing with that avenue of communication to the community. All right then. We'd like to have the President's report, which is give you some updates on what's going on in the neighborhood. Dana Mason will give you some more details. I'm just going to give the overview of what we have going on. We have the Ogden moving along on Long Street. We have the deal coming along there. We have a lot of continued infill housing being generated and developed. We have concerns with the taxes, and we're trying to work with our auditor, Cheryl, and try to work that out so people are not taxed out of the neighborhood. We want people to be moving up and into the neighborhood, and we need to have a kind of a way to balance that with the taxes. So they're working on some ways to do that, so that if you're here for a particular time, whatever, your taxes are one thing, or you can apply for things to help you stay here and not be taxed out. Fortunate for us at this point, all the development that is happening in Bronzeville in our 1 square mile, which is about 1 square mile from Broad Street to the south, I-670 to the north, Taylor Avenue to the east, and Jefferson Avenue to the west. It's about 1 square mile. Is that there is a lot of things happening, and we are glad for that. But we also have to monitor how it happens, and that's why we're here today. We have a presentation about a proposal for a project on Miami. Again, Dana's going to go through more detail about that. We also had a meeting with OSU in the neighborhood at East High School that we were discussing the fate of the Henderson House and the things that OSU is doing in the neighborhood as far as health. And we are very, very glad that we were able to have that meeting, and people gave feedback, and the consensus is that we was able to save the Henderson House. Now it is being discussed what is the next step, and you'll hear more about that from Dana as to what is being proposed. And so we are glad for that. The other thing that's really pushing the envelope with the community is that of the neighborhood house. CMHA is in the process. They have a demo permit for the neighborhood house, which is on Atchison, and I had a meeting with the representatives of the neighborhood house, 2 of the representatives, myself and Rita Smith and Rita Fuller Yates, and they were just giving an overview. And they are going to be setting up a series of neighborhood meetings to get input, and they are also saying now that they are not going to be in a hurry to demo the building prior to having input from the community, which is a very good thing. They heard the cries, and they were very much on top of, they don't want to go through the pain that they went through with building Poindexter Village. That was very painful for them and for the community. So they're going to have a meeting for that, and there's some things that were presented about the project and its development. The other avenue is that you will see a sign over there that will say it's for sale. And we asked, how is that? Well, we know over the last few years, CMHA has been getting out of the business of building. They will hire a developer to come in and build. They haven't decided what they're going to do with the neighborhood house as relates to who's going to build it. And what's going to be torn down, what's going to be saved, all that's in discussion now. But they were just saying they're putting it out there that if a developer wants to come in and make a bid to do what the community wants with the buildings, then that they be open for discussion. That has not been sealed in stone yet, but they're saying they're just exploring other options as it relates to the neighborhood house. And a couple of discussions came up about what can be saved and what cannot be saved. They're going to be doing an assessment, and that will be coming up a little bit later. And one of the areas that is very important to that building, besides some of the wording and whatnot, is that they have a very unique gym, and that can be used and tried to say, but they haven't decided what they're going to do yet, but they want to hear more from the community. So those meetings will be coming up in the near future, but at this point they assured us that they are not trying to tear down the neighborhood house tomorrow. And they said they can hold off for a month or two, but they said that they want to have community meetings before doing any demo. And that's a real plus for the neighborhood, that at least they're willing to do that. So that's coming in the near future. About the rest of the development, we're going to have a presentation shortly, but we have our vice president to give you some more details about the development that I just briefly mentioned. He's the development guy.
Right. Hello, Dana Mason, Vice President of the Bronxville Neighborhood Association. Thank you, everybody coming out. And as we all know, those of us that live in the neighborhood or involved with the neighborhood, we are one of the centers of great activity that is occurring throughout the inner city, and much of it is good. The activity that is now occurring, we've been working on for the last 30 years, Louis and I and several other people in this community. It's finally arrived in the last 5 or so years. This is a snowball that's been very slow to reach the size that it is now, but it's going down that hill, and it's going in the right direction. We're excited about it. We are pro-development. Again, we are pro-development. We want housing. We need housing. We need retail. We need commercial. We want housing for every economic level there possibly is. Any documented level by the federal government. That means from the very bottom all the way to the top. And we've been very fortunate because we are getting that. We are getting mixed housing. We're getting mixed housing on single projects, which is a big difference from years ago. We are getting mixed housing on all kinds of locations throughout the neighborhood. We are also excited because we're having new people move into the neighborhood who also are excited to be here. And it's a unique neighborhood. We all know that. We have assets, other neighborhoods, they wish they had maybe one of those assets. We got a bunch of them. One, we got 2 historic theaters, Lincoln and the Pythian. The Lincoln is in use frequently, the Pythian is being worked on. The other thing is we have a major hospital, OSU Hospital East with the Wexner, and we have CarePoint East at the opposite end of the neighborhood. And in between, we have all these churches. All these churches also have a lot of vacant land, housing. We have said in the last 25 years that these churches with their vacant land offer housing opportunities that is different than other neighborhoods have. Franklinton, Old Town, Victorian Village, Short North, They have churches, but they don't have the vast land holdings of vacant land with nothing on it. They spend all their time mowing grass. It's time to build for people who need housing. So that's one of the things that sets this neighborhood apart from other neighborhoods. Now, for some of the development that is now occurring, which is exciting, for instance, the Hayes Henderson House discussion we had at East High School on Wednesday night. That's connected with OSU Hospital Wexner at Atchison and Taylor. As many of you may know, there was a community discussion at Trinity Baptist Church last winter, January, February. And the OSU made the presentation, and they told us what we were going to get. They made it clear we were going to figure out how we were going to recognize what the house was. It was a very strong was. Community, we stood up on our hind legs and said, no, you're not going to tear that house down. Guess what? We've had a lot of discussions in between. The house remains. This meeting Wednesday, OSU made a commitment. They're saving the house. They're going to do what's necessary to get it up to code so it is a functioning building that meets what we, the community, see as its possibilities. Nobody knows what that is yet. The other thing we're saying, since the meeting, we in the community, we in Bronzeville are saying, there's one other thing we need to do. We don't want to make a commitment on what this house should be. We don't want to say whether it's a bread and breakfast or a retail or another doctor's office or whatever. We're saying, hold up. OSU, you need to tell us what your plans are. What your plans are for the current tower that they say they're going to tear down at Taylor and Long, where the hospital is. What your plans are for Care Point East. What the total plan is for the medical complex with OSU, because we're part of that in this neighborhood. So when you let us know what your master plan is, how you see us over here, then we can move forward and make some kind of plan for the house. Because it's not fair to have we, the community, come up with ideas for the house without knowing anything else, because you're setting us up to fail. If we fail, we get one shot at it. Then what are you going to do? Take the house away from us? So we're going to wait till we know the big picture. All right. So then we go to the Ogden residential retail space right there adjacent to the Lincoln Theater on Long Street. It's looking gorgeous. The brick is almost done. The Creole Kitchen is about to begin lease improvements. So Chef Butcher is going to move in there. I'm sure many of you know. If you don't, you need to know he has that fantastic food up on Mount Vernon Plaza. And he's coming down to Long Street right by the Lincoln Theater. Fantastic restaurant right beside a fantastic theater. That's the kind of thing that makes a neighborhood move. Now, the other thing is, years ago, there was a movement within this community to end liquor licenses up and down Long Street. We fought that. We said, you can't do that. The day will come when the Lincoln Theater's up and running and we will have restaurants. If the restaurants on Long Street can't have alcohol, people will go from the Lincoln Theater and go right over to Old Town, Parsons, Oak, wherever. They won't even hang around. They won't move any money in our neighborhood. So we put the kibosh on mixing alcohol in this neighborhood. As a result, Chef Butcher is there. He has an alcohol license. We have the club across the street. We have the Canna Bar. So when people come down to the Lincoln, they can move up and down the street. It's a happening street, and it will be even more so. And the other thing we go to is Deal Residential Building. And Deal, Richard Deal, had the Deal Funeral Home. He has since passed. Wonderful gentleman. Now, the other thing you need to know, where the current Gateway building is, or the building where Equitas is at Hamilton and Long, before that was built, Willis and I and several in the early groups of the Bronzeville Neighborhood Association made a proposal to Mayor Coleman, Department of Development, for a commercial retail building on that site, residential. We had Asa Brook, who was an architect developer, was behind us. We had a model. We had a personal meeting with Mayor Coleman in his office. He said, no, it ain't gonna happen. Well, guess what? Richard Deal, who's now going to build the Deal Tower, supported our project. He wanted to be part of what we wanted to do at Hamilton and Long. He wasn't happy with what Mayor Coleman ended up doing at Hamilton and Long, which had no residential, no parking. So now that Richard Deal has passed on, before he passed, he decided he wanted to do the project he was hoping we could do on the other corner, where the Gateway building is. So now Richard passed is going to get his building, his family is, where his funeral home is. It's going to be a beautiful building overlooking the freeway, and it's going to have Bronzeville on the top. You ride down the freeway, you're going to see Bronzeville. You're going to see Bronzeville way down Long Street when you're coming this way. We had people who would not put Bronzeville on the arch. Well, keep your arch. We've got Bronzeville that's going to be way up over the arch. Now, we can go to Shiloh Baptist Church. Shiloh is doing things that we have talked to all the churches about for years. I'm saying 25 years. They are building on land they hold, and they're building affordable housing. And we have been saying to the city, we've been saying to this neighborhood, this is what sets this neighborhood apart from other neighborhoods. The churches have so much land they can build housing on. Shiloh is the first one to do it. And you can go down Hamilton and Mount Vernon, you can see it right there. And it's gorgeous housing, and it's going to be adding income to the church. We keep telling the churches, be part of that. Be part of this movement. The city, I don't care what city you are, any of the top 25, 30 cities right now, it's housing, 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 affordable housing. Now it's affordable housing, mixed housing, high income with low income, you're putting it all together. We got so much land to do that in this neighborhood. And CMHA knows that. And CMHA is in favor of that. And other developers are in favor of that. So then we go to the infill housing that we're getting in this neighborhood. We're getting a lot of it. We had New City just completed 4 houses on North Monroe right before Mount Vernon. In fact, the developer, architect, and the attorney for the latest project being proposed there on Miami is here today to make a proposal. And we have a project on Long Street. We have a project on Taylor, which has received some approval. The project on Taylor, just south of Mount Vernon, had some difficult times in its initial presentation. And we had some back and forth, which we're good for in this neighborhood. When we see a project that makes sense but it doesn't look right, we work with the people. We make suggestions and say, please do this, consider this. And there's some back and forth because they know we're pro-development. We want the project, but it has to be friendly to the neighborhood. So we have that situation is going to be coming up again here with this project. We'll see how the community feels and what they can offer to tweak it if they want to. Then the other thing is we go to infrastructure. We've been so blessed to have so many improvements in the neighborhood when it comes to the electrical capabilities, because years ago we had black and brownouts all the time. It seems like every 2 months power go out. So we don't have that now. We have the latest project is on North 18th between Long Street to Mount Vernon. We had new curbs, we got sidewalks when necessary, we got handicap ramps, and it's a real asset to that street. And now they've gone to 17th. They took out some of the street trees that are a real problem on 17th. So eventually we'll get that street with the sidewalks ramp situation like we just had accomplished on 18th. And so with all that, as you can see, there's a lot of things going on. And again, I can't say it enough times, we're pro-development, but we make it clear to the developers, we make it clear to anybody coming in, work with us. We want to be part of what you want to do. We want to help you succeed. And you do that by pulling the neighborhood in and making them feel like they have input. Thank you.
And just a couple of things that I want to as of today, with all the development, no one has been pushed out of the neighborhood with all the development. All the developments coming here is on vacant land. Infill lots, Long Street were all vacant. So far, that has been what we see now with all the building and housing going in the area. No one has been pushed out. Now, I'm not saying it's always going to be like that. We're trying to prevent that. So we're working with many ways of doing that to keep people here who want to be here. And we like to always state that Bronzeville is not for everyone. It's only for those people who want to be a part of something great. We have our values that we know this is a great spot based on its location, its assets, its people. So we are very proud of what we have here. And also the Ogden and the deal set a standard for any large development, that it says that, look at that building, and the parking is where? Underneath the building, just like downtown. In urban settings, you put the parking underneath. And this is one thing that when we get large development, we want them to follow that same suit. You must absorb the parking on your development, not the open lots that you have today where you park, and that takes up space. We need to monitor that. So we have 2 developments that are building just like downtown and everywhere else that we have in the downtown is developing. So we are glad that the deal has parking underneath for all its residents, as well as the Ogden. Also, just to let people know that the Adelphi was sold recently. Board doesn't own it anymore. It's owned by a company in Utah, but they have a management company here, and we met with them, and we are asking them to modify some things and to correct things that Board did not do. So one of the things is that of lighting. We're still pushing lighting for the neighborhood, pedestrian lighting. For example, on Miami, you have additional pedestrian lighting. What we're saying that the whole neighborhood should have that. And so we are pushing for that process to have more pedestrian lighting between Broad and Mount Vernon on the adjacent streets, so that it lights the neighborhood. People can walk freely and feel comfortable walking, and we have events in park. The other thing that we didn't mention that is that of the parking garage. Right now, we are working with President Shannon Hardin about getting approval to use the land across from the Lincoln, which belongs to the city, to build have a development that will have a parking garage and residential and a grocery store. So if you want to help us along, make phone calls down there and say, hey, you want this? Because we have to ease the traffic from the events from overflowing into the neighborhood. We don't want to be like a German Village or Short North. We need to be better than that, because we can plan ahead. So we are working with the city. We have a developer that's working with us as well. And there's some preliminary things. Once we get the okay from the city, then we can have some more neighborhood discussions. Well, we are doing that now, because they want to have a nice grocery store that will be going in there. And we have some other avenues for grocery stores for Mount Vernon and here. So we are taking the initiative to bring these things to the community, because these are needs of the community. And we have been promised electricity in our park. You know, we have our Bronzeville Park at Spring and Hamilton. And we were supposed to have it this past year, and they didn't do it. We couldn't have our jazz concert series. So they promised that we would have it by next year. So we're going to keep pressure on them to put our electric, so we can have electric there, and a light pole, a flag pole, and some other additional lighting for that corner. So we're going to see if we can, they won't forget us to do it for this coming year. So that's it on our development scene. The other person to speak would be our treasurer, to give us a treasury report, and then we can take questions if you have any questions after she gives her report. And And we have also a secretary report that's gonna give a short thing, and then we can have some questions. Yes, she's in the back there.
My name is Stephanie Myers, and treasurer for the volunteer Relief Association. For the month of November 2023, beginning with the first to the 30th, we had 0 transactions with a beginning balance of $5,083.84 and ending balance of $5,083.84.
Thank you. Okay, and we have our treasurer with a comment or two.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ramsey, Secretary. Only update I have is new development, we do have an influx in Airbnbs. And so just want to let people know that there is a guideline that City of Columbus is requiring for you to obtain an Airbnb in this specific area. If you want that information, you can reach out and I can send it out to you all.
Okay, and make sure you sign the book with your information. Yeah, she'll pass that around. And also, starting next year, Mount Vernon is going to get a facelift. We've worked for the last 2 years with them. We're going to get roundabouts, bike lanes, and trees planted. A whole new landscaping coming to Mount Vernon, we're happy for that because it changes the spectrum of what Mount Vernon has been and what it will be. And like, if you want to improve a neighborhood, the first thing you should do is change the physical environment. As humans, we adjust to that much faster than intellect. You change the environment. So that's what we are hoping to keep doing, is upgrading the environment to be positive for the residents.
And we do have those pictures floating around that show the improvement.
Okay, thank you. All right. So with that, if you have any questions about the development, then we'll bring the developers on to discuss. Yes?
You mentioned that CMHA was going to sell or potentially sell off that community center to a developer who's going to come back and ask for national agreement.
Mm-hmm.
It's better to ask CMHA not to sell it until they come up with a developer that is going to give a plan. We have political pressure on CMHA. Once it's sold, the developer can do whatever they want to do. So I think you want to reverse the order and persuade them to pull it out of the sale until there's a proposal that's agreed.
Okay.
They cannot sell it.
Okay, great. We will take that because they're going to have some additional meetings, and we will definitely put that. They made it clear they're going to put that sign up that this will be for sale. But you're right. We need to put the pressure on the front end so we can have something in writing as to what will happen. And you're right. But once they sell it, then that's another battle that we don't need to have. Okay, great. I will take that back to Mr. Hillman himself. And when they're going to be setting up some neighborhood meetings and supposed to be contacting the NEAC people when they set up the meetings to get more people out. And again, we also have our commissioner here. If he wants to give any comments, we can do that now, or you can want to wait. I don't know, Eric, what you want to do.
I have some open comments if you want those now.
Yeah,
I'm related to neighborhood house.
yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Mhm.
So just one thing related to neighborhood house, they did tell us that they will not be at our meeting in December. They confirmed that they will not be there to pursue a demo.
Good.
On that. There are, let's see, I think many of you recall, or some of you were at tax safety meeting. Emma Toby is a transportation planner for the city. They're doing a project on Broad Street from Parsons to Nelson. It's resurfaced. Originally, it was going to be resurfaced and repainting, possibly limiting lanes, things like that. We, at those meetings, told her that she needs to pursue a budget for more than that, including traffic calming, maybe some medians in the center, like further east on Broad. So she is coming back to me at Thursday's meeting, so it'll be Thursday, December 14th at 6:30 at 1393 East Broad Street. She's coming back with updates regarding that project. And hopefully we have responded to our they want to, it's commercial, they want to zone it to give more flexibility for commercial uses. I'm just an observer, but I suspect that they're having a little trouble leasing space there. And that is it in this area.
And if I may add one thing to the Broad Street redo with the one that you're talking about in the input. We have said several times over the years, and we continue to say, that East Broad Street from Parsons to Nelson Road is a vast river that is so difficult to cross, either from Old Town to Bronzeville, Bronzeville to Old Town. No matter if there's lights in your favor or not, you have to run across that street. You'll get run over. So the city in some way has to make it so it's friendly for those of us in our two communities to cross the street.
Yes. Mhm.
About that. I agree with that because I crossed the street for 2 years ago. Maybe, I don't know if I've ever seen this, but maybe lights could be all red for a portion of the time to get people to cross. And then start switching us so the traffic can move. Because otherwise, those coming on Parsons, turning west on Broad Street, they come off 90 miles an hour and they don't see you walking across that section. So they just turn them on red for 30 seconds.
Okay.
I forgot to introduce myself, Eric Hutchison, your district county commissioner for the area.
And again, we talk about the assets of Bronzeville. We have 2 commissioners, and they do their due diligence to keep us informed, and we are very proud of that communication between us and NEAC and the city. And so we're very proud of our commissioners, that they do an excellent job in keeping us informed or bringing up concerns to us when they see them. So that's a nice thing. And also, we've been also asking the city for, so again, Commissioner Hutchinson, keep up the good work. The city, for traffic calming devices, they have rubber humps that can go in the streets between the north and south streets, not something long street, to slow the traffic down. And they keep saying, they keep giving us the runaround, but we are constantly pushing for traffic calming in the neighborhood. And we're still pushing it with them, so maybe we'll be able to get something in the near future. Yes?
Now, I just have a question, for the traffic calming. Are we waiting, did they decide if they want to do a roundabout at Mount Vernon and Champion, or is that something they're waiting to discuss,
Okay.
in the future, when they do the whole?
Yeah, when they start next year with the Mount Vernon, that's what they will be having more. It's also the funding. They have some of it. They don't have all the funding. So when they start, this is where we can discuss where they talk about the roundabouts there and one on St. Clair and Mount Vernon too. So that will be discussed as we come into next year.
And to elaborate on the speed humps that President Brown's talking about, we're not talking about the asphalt humps, which are such a difficult thing to do and the city doesn't want to do. And if you say that's what you want, then you don't get speed bumps. We're talking about the rubber type that are screwed down, that can be anchored into the street and they can be removed. You put those down, and then that is how we deal with all these north-south streets. Because as we all know, you can go out, if you have a car parked on 20th, 18th, 17th, Miami, Monroe, Garfield, you come out any morning, your car could be totaled in the rear end. Somebody hit it and they drove off. We've all seen that.
And then another point of reference is Daddy-O Biscuits, right there on Long Street, between Talmadge and Monroe. They were having issues with the city removing their parking for people when customers coming up, and to show you how that worked. The owner made some calls and started to get in communication with the city about it. He then reached out to other residents, then he reached out to the civic. And together, we were able to talk to the city and put pressure on them to make some modification. because we're talking about clearing, and if they don't have their parking there, how would their customers park? They wanted to remove those. So we made it a point to tell the city that at Monroe and Long, you know, we have to look for the future because there will be a building there at some point. So we have to set the tone about clearance and so forth and make it safe. Again, we have to slow down the traffic on the north-south traffic streets. So that was very nice that we were able to work as a team towards the city. Another thing that's coming that we're saying, once the deal goes in, I wanted to let you know that once the deal is in place, we fought for many years with ODOT. If you look at the cap on Long Street, it's wider than the one on Spring Street. The reason for that is that for 2 years we worked with ODOT, Dana and I, to make the connection with us and downtown look just like the short north. So in that north side of that cap, inside that cement is sewer, water, light, gas. It cost them $25 million and they had to reinforce it because when things happen very soon, you have, it's designed for 4 restaurants that can go on that side. And that's why, so what you see there now, that's on temporary, because it was designed to connect us just like the cap does in the short north. So we pushed them to do that. It cost them a lot of money, but it's there waiting for the time. We're talking about seeing down the road. So if you look at the Long Street cap, you have the cultural wall on the south side, but that north side is all inside that cement, is everything, and it's been reinforced so you can put a building, restaurants, and so forth, right? Sewer and all that's inside there. So we are very happy that we thought down the road because that's coming. And then when you see the deal come out the ground, you're going to say, wow, you will want to have a restaurant right there for those 90 units that's going in there. Almost 200 people will be living there. You want to have a restaurant nearby. And that's why we're pushing also for the garage across from the Lincoln Theater so that we can have a place for people to come in and visit our neighborhood and not have to be 3 and 4 blocks away or not come at all. So just want to reiterate that. Okay, any other questions or concerns? All right, but we're gonna have our, yeah. Oh, there you are, I can see it.
Just a point of information, one of my difficulties in dealing with the city in the past was when the councilmen were elected citywide, it was very hard to bring attention to the nearest area on obvious things that we're looking at locally that needed to be done. I understand that's going to be changed in the near future by next year. Can you give me an update on that?
Yeah, let me tell you the trickery of that. I'm making it very clear. We worked hard for redistricting. We worked hard to put it on the ballot. And they found legal loopholes to put an end to that. Because what we said, the 9 districts or 9 representatives, we said Columbus is about 1 million people. If each district had about 900,000 to be kind of even. And we had drawn it out and everything. And we said that the person that is going to run for that district would have the opportunity that if they didn't have the money, they can knock on every door in this district and get elected. But that's not what they want. What they did is came back with a trickery system that clearly states that we have 9 members in their district, but they have to also be elected citywide. So unless you have a lot of money or connected to the party, you can't do that. So I'm glad that you're saying that, because we said it will come to this point where representation is a facade. Because you're right, if we had someone that we elected from our district, guess what? If they don't listen, they don't get elected next time. We can't do that today. And yet they say we have 9, we have additional people on council, 2 more, which is a total of 9, and they're following the same plan that they will have districts that have approximately 90,000 per district. So, we said, okay, that makes sense. But they modified it to say, yes, you have someone there, but by George, if they got money, they have to get everyone. So someone up in the north will vote for someone right here. Now, how fair is that? How is that representation? But that's what you're going to get here. So, yeah, we will have someone from this area, but can you vote them out? Probably not. So that's the trickery of redistricting. And we tried to fight that. I
We
mean, we
continue to. It'll change.
It'll change eventually because people want proper representation. And we're not gonna get that right now. We have to work with what we have and put pressure on them to change it. This is what we fought. We're out in the cold getting petitions and all that to submit. And they found ways to negate it because of some technicalities. But this is the process of democracy where you have true representation when you can vote in or out and not someone from the north voting for someone in this neighborhood or this district. So yeah, so that point is well taken. So we just have to see who they put. Shayla Favors was our representative, but she's now running for city prosecutor, county prosecutor. And so we don't know who we're going to get for our neighborhood to fill her shoes. They would appoint someone, and then we have to see how well they do to listen to us or to move us to the next level. We don't know, but that's the problem that we have. Yes, you have more people at council, but you have to be voted in, or not only for your area, but you have to be voted in citywide. Unless you have money, that's almost impossible. And that's the trickery. That's the duping effect of government. We fought it twice. We put the petitions out there. So I'm not saying that I'm done. We was out there in the cold getting petitions signed to make that happen, and we got the thing. Yes.
Just to kind of add on to what you're saying, I mean, at this juncture, we don't have the district where there's someone that represents your area. I mean, is there something that can be done now to try and encourage, better representation?
But we have
They
representation.
do represent our area, but everybody else voted for the person who represents us,
Right.
not only we.
So that's
the difference.
That's the difference. We have representation, and they added 2 people to give you representation, but again, they are not voted in totally by all the people in their district.
They gave us half a glass of water. We went the full glass.
So there's no real avenue.
Not at this point.
Not yet. It's going to
It'll
continue.
come later on. Another person will fill out a petition. Okay.
Clarification. It was understanding what you're saying, and I totally agree. But I was also under the impression, and correct me if I'm wrong, they have to live in that area, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's new. They didn't used to do that. They had to, all those that represent the area that they are given, they have to live there now. And that's new. So that's a good thing. So we can go knock on their door.
Yeah.
If we got an issue, I think, and we need to start doing that. Now, I used to do it when Shannon lived down the street. I would knock on his door, and he didn't mind that, so he was okay with it. So he's a good guy. Okay. Any other questions or concern? Great. So we will have Mr. Attorney Dave Perry to come and present his client, and then you can ask him some questions and go through the process, and we'll go from there. Oh, consultant. That's right.
Hi, Willis. Hi, Dana. Hi, everybody.
You want to sit up? You have to. You want to?
No,
You want to sit up here? You can sit here.
no, you guys stay.
About 10 of these total.
You don't mind advocating the seat for
Let's get one
good
foot
stuff.
table here.
Actually.
Yeah, that's the,
afternoon, everybody. My name is Dave Perry. Kevin, you want to introduce yourself?
My name is Kevin Parzak. I'm an architect at Gunzelman Architecture and Interiors. We're the architects for development on this project.
We're,
You speak up, please. What's your name?
Hi, Kevin Parzak. I'm from Gunzelman Architecture and Interiors. We're the architects for the development team on this project.
Thank you.
so the site, we have a zoning variance pending for Blue Chip Homes, which is Lonnie Freeman. He has built other sites within the Near East Area Commission. We have a zoning variance pending for 35 North Miami. 35 North Miami is a vacant lot. It is the second parcel north of the alley, north of Broad Street. So we have Broad, the parcel facing Broad, and then the alley, and then a separate property, and then this vacant lot. So we have a variance application pending to build a 4-unit building. And I'm consulting on the zoning aspects of the project. Gunzelman Architecture is the architect, and Kevin is an architect with Gunzelman Architecture. And so the site development is a 4-unit building and a 4-bay detached garage. Is this plan is in their package? Yeah, okay. So the packet, you have this in your packets. The building will be as depicted on the plan, and I think this is primarily, Willis and Dana, I think this is primarily about the design and the proposed construction. Is that right?
Right.
Yeah, okay, sure. So let's switch to Kevin on what he has prepared for the site.
Sure.
Julia, hold this up.
I'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
So just to orient you for our drawing, Miami Avenue is here. The construction will consist of essentially 4 townhouses. Each unit will have their own front door, so to speak. It'll be a 3-story building and 3-bedroom units. 2 units will face Miami Avenue. 2 units will sort of face the backyard. The garage building is off the alley. For parking purposes, there will be 2 parking spaces for each unit. So we are not requesting a parking variance as part of our application. The 3-story building also fits within the allowable building height restrictions. So no variance is requested on the parking or the building height. I will switch point now here about this. Yeah, just for reference, units are between 1,600 and 1,700 square feet. So, like I said, 3-bedroom units. They would be most likely rented. Although they are designed so that individual condos could be sold in the future if it makes sense for the building and market. Each unit will have their own front porch. There is bike parking provided on site, meeting city standards as well. New trees, new landscaping, sidewalks on either side of the building to get access to the various parts of the site. And as I mentioned before, 2 units front Miami, 2 units fronting sort of the backyard. On the design of the buildings, they feature a sort of shed roof, so slanting in one direction, and the buildings are split down the middle, corresponding to the unit layouts, so that sort of each unit both has its identity, but there's a sort of single aesthetic for the entire structure. In terms of exterior materials, there'll be brick cladding at the lower levels and in some corners, and primarily the siding will be horizontal fiber cement plank. So fairly conventional materials, much like any other housing development in the neighborhood or existing building stock as well. So, Dave, if you want to do variances specifically, we could, but that's really all we have to add on the architecture at this point.
What would you like?
Do the variance.
Okay, the variance application is CV 23-148, addressed as 35 North Miami. The first variance, the property is zoned R2F, so the first variance is to the R2F district to permit a 4-dwelling unit building. The next 2 variances are the same thing, but I need to cite it twice with the city code. The parking 8 parking spaces are provided with a 4-bay garage and a parking space behind each bay off the alley. So variances number 2 and 3, parking and parking space, are related to the stacked parking.
Oh, go ahead and finish.
Are you saying each person will have 4 parking spots?
No, there's a total of 8 spaces, and each person will have a garage and the space behind it. So 2 spaces per unit.
Let Dave completely finish, and then we'll go through with all the questions.
Okay, the next variance item is building setback lines on Miami. We have a very minor variance to setback lines to reduce from 21.5 feet to 21 feet. And that is, the code requires me to take the average of the 2 adjacent buildings, so it's a very minor variance to building lines. And then the last variance is to minimum side yard required for both the 4-unit building and the garage. Detached garages are required to have a 3-foot side yard. This is proposed to have a 1-foot side yard on each side, so 3 feet to 1 foot on the variance. And then on the 4-unit building, reducing side yard from 5.83 to 5 feet, so 0.83 of a foot by variance.
I'm sorry, say that last number. Say the number again.
5.83 to 5.0, 0.83 difference.
One other thing to add, just in terms of the architecture and about the sort of project location. On Miami Avenue, between Long and Broad, there are varying building types, some single family, some duplexes, and some apartment buildings as well. Our building will be directly to the south of an existing, I believe, apartment building, 4-unit apartment building. So we're sort of also next to, if you see on our area map, there's a 3-story development on Gay Street, which is sort of in the backyard of the building. So there's other similar sized buildings and similar types of uses to the buildings in the area as well. So I think that ends our presentation.
Okay.
Thank you for inviting us here and having us available to present this to you today, and happy to answer any questions or for your support.
Great, so if you don't mind, if you want to sit down, or, Dave?
Leave the board up there.
Yeah, and then, we have to, you can ask questions, and that's what we're here for, is to ask the questions. Everyone will get a chance to speak and ask the questions, so that's, no rush.
I'm not sure this will stay, but I'll play down. Just hold it up.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
Okay, just 2 easy questions.
We'll come around.
Number 1, I heard 3-bedroom, 2 baths,
It will have 2.5 baths.
2.5 baths. And the second question, if I heard it right, is that it's right next to a unit that's already a 4. Because if I'm looking at this, seems like there's a unit that's just one north of it.
Correct.
That's
Yep.
4-unit also.
It's a 4-unit apartment.
Oh, okay.
Yep. You guys want to select people?
No, we're gonna go around the room.
Yes, Drake Dickerson. I live at 47 Miami Avenue. My mom, myself, and Garrett built that building. My proceeds from the St. Clair Hotel. And that was built in 1966. And the other property was built from 1900s to 96. We're going to be the newest new build. What conforming architecture is that represents the homes in the regular line?
Sure.
If you don't mind, I actually have some backing thoughts specifically about the design, just to add some specificity. The front elevation composition, it's not particularly in keeping with the character on that street. I was paying attention to the pumps. Like kind of in this process, this house is one that you guys use as a design comp as well. Like where are the ones that you put, like in proximity, like where are the ones that you put in the house?
So in the packet, we had 2 sort of similar looking buildings. I believe a blue and a white building were pictured in the back of our packet. Those are on North 20th Street, 200 block, I think we're between 250 and 260 on North 20th. They're fairly new construction, and they were also something our current developer developed himself. So there's a,
So the only comps, like the only comps are actually the ones that you guys do.
well, they're similar to other projects we've done with this developer. So I will, and they're on
Like,
North 20th.
linearly, how far?
The 200 block in North 20th, I think they're 250, which,
I'm saying linearly, how far away from where you propose this one?
I don't know off the top of my head, but it's a block or two away, I would say.
So like not visible for this one.
Not necessarily visible, no. So
What's the most visible for this?
I'm not sure there would be one. And I will speak to the two examples you gave, a 60s building, which is nearly going back quite a ways,
Like
70 years ago.
Like
Correct.
all the engineers.
The other years are very old as well. So we just are not trying to duplicate exactly what was built a long time ago. This is a project being built in 2023, hoping to get people who want to lease these apartments based on current market preferences. The preferences of our developer, our design ideas are, we like to think are of this time period, building for today. So that's just our design approach at this point.
Okay. You have another question?
Well, I have a point of order. I live at 34 Miami, and if you apply for a variance, you were required by law to put a sign in the front yard to let us know that it was happening. Is there a sign out there?
I personally placed a sign 2 or 3 weeks ago at least.
I live across the street, I've never seen a sign.
There's no sign.
That and that's it.
So there's not a sign. You said something that I'm gonna tell you, I came open-minded. You said it is what you want. You're putting your idea in my neighborhood. I spent $5,000 trying to redo windows across the street so that I could show some deference to the people who live there. I don't get to change it because I don't like what's there. You're walking into what is there. We're not going to conform to you. Those houses are going to conform to us, or we're going to raise hell. So now there are some smart ways to do it, and there are carriage houses that you can increase density. But you are not going to stand in front of me and say, this is what we'd like to put on your street. I was there first. You conform to me. They're brick, they're uniform, they're consistent. There's an exception for that apartment building because of redlining and some racist things that happen. There shouldn't be enough.
And I think what we can do, just to reference what you're saying, is that you're asking them to take a minute.
No, I'm not asking them. I'm asking them to stop with, you're not going to ram it down my throat.
Right.
And tell me what you're going to do.
Right, but what I'm saying, what you're also saying is that you want them to take another look at what's there and come back with a redesign that meets the standard of the block. I mean, okay, and that's.
With the arrogance of, we're going to do what we want.
I understand that. So now, to combat that and keep things going, that you asking them clearly to take a look, and the reason I'm saying that is because we had to do that with the Ogden, the Adelphi, and we can show you where they went, the architects took pieces of the buildings to incorporate it. So what you're asking, and it's perfectly okay, it would, for them to take another look and come on the block and do a more detailed assessment of points of reference of design to make it more feel good to the block, compatible to the block.
I think that's appropriate. I think the
Okay.
solid point that you brought
All right.
is actually the lack of notice given.
Okay, and if you notice that we can follow up on that, we ask them to do that. And I agree, if it wasn't there, then we have to look into that. And Eric can also help us with that process as well. So we're gonna address that on that. But we heard your point, and this is good, and you're right. We want them to say, to have some respect for what is there, and then here's what you can do. Let's see if we can come to a medium. Okay, that's good.
Thank you. I'm Ed Tatum, I live at 75 Miami, and I want to echo the previous gentleman's comments regarding the need for this facility for a new building to have a look and feel consistent with the rest of the neighborhood.
Okay.
I really appreciate that you're building Simply because it's now, doesn't mean that you go ahead and throw out any architectural consistency through the rest of that street. And I am a little bit surprised that you haven't considered that already. Can you help me understand why we are wed to this design and I'm asking that question?
I will say that we've proposed the design. I will say that we've proposed a design that we thought was consistent with our client's goals, consistent with our design principles as architects, and we think that there are similarities in what we've proposed to other, the rest of the built environment in the neighborhood. So we have hear your comments. I think we would like to be able to maybe provide more documentation about similarities to other things that exist, and I'm happy to field your next question.
No, thank you for that. I appreciate you listening and hearing what I said. But again, I appreciate that there are other buildings and other blocks that are not within the eyesight of this neighborhood that are similar to that. And I've seen what you guys did. I think, did you do Monroe?
Not familiar with.
Okay.
I'm not familiar
Well,
with the building.
regardless, this is a block that has nothing like that on it. And it's going to be very important to me to go away, to have a significant design change on what that looks like it's going to look. So I want to be very clear.
And
The numbers, if you have questions, go ahead.
yeah, and to emphasize that, I think the Miami Association, and point out, maybe you like I said, you want lentils to be over the windows. You want list of things that the Miami can come to have a meeting with the residents of Miami and list the things that you look at your block and see. Like that's what we do with those big developments. We said we wanted to have brick here, this here. Identify the things that are important to you on Miami in your house.
No, thank you.
And then make a list.
Thank you, Will.
And this will kind of narrow it down to say, here's what we want.
Yes.
And now see how you can, as an architect, make it work for us.
No, thank you, Willis. And actually, we're going to be starting that.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
found out about that,
it could be done.
2 days ago.
Mhm.
You might remember how active we were on the building on Gay Street.
Right.
Now, and we will be as active, if not more so on this one. My
Yeah.
second question, Kevin, we have variances. The first one is we set back 6 inches. I mean, what's up? We can't just,
The way the site lays out, 6 inches perhaps could be looked at to slightly reduce the need for that variance. It is a 4 units going onto an urban lot that the city zoning code does not typically address very well. So these variances are quite common for us to apply for and go through the types of projects we do in both this neighborhood, other areas on the east side, south side, what have you. So it is a technicality, but there are other technicalities that we have to get resolved as part of this as well. So that's why we've included it.
so that brings me to another question. So this design that you're proposing here, is this, and maybe you said it, I didn't hear it, is this a design that's been designed and built already in other places?
This specific design, no. Similar building features are used in other projects that we have performed as the architect, other projects that are built in the city, so on and so forth. And I would reiterate too, we have a red brick veneer cladding proposed, which is quite similar to many parts of the city, including Miami Avenue.
I'm still back on the architecture.
Sure, and also the fiber cement plank siding is very common as well.
So this is a custom design?
It is custom. This has not been done anywhere else.
Okay, thank you. So the last question I'm going to ask now is on the 3-foot to 1-foot variance.
Yes.
And I guess what I'd like you to please consider, if I was next door to y'all and had a 1-foot offset, I would think that's pretty close. And so, given that this is indeed a custom design, it seems to me that you might actually avoid having to request 2 variances by simply operating with the 3-foot on the side and and a 21-foot on the front. I
Sure.
think that might be helpful to you.
The variance from 3 feet to 1 foot is at the garages. We felt it was appropriate to provide 2 parking spaces for each unit. Without the variance to go from 3 feet to 1 foot, we would only be able to provide 6 spaces on the site with garages, and that would be a bare minimum, meeting the zoning requirements. So we are able to provide more parking, spaces in garages with this variance request, which we saw as a benefit
And that's just on the
versus
garage
applying
side?
for the variance.
That's just the garage in the back?
Not having the garage side yard variance would limit the garage to 3 bays rather than 4.
Understood, and that's just for the garage?
Garage, yes.
Correct.
I appreciate that, thank you.
Okay.
Speaking of the garage, no one mentioned it, I noticed that's just a flat roof. I mean, that doesn't seem like a need with the weather, rain, I mean, how is that gonna fall? I mean, is there, I don't even know.
So this is maybe, since we're talking about these details, I'm happy to explain. There is a need in the city to hold stormwater onto a site so that during large-scale rain events, city sewers are not flooded with rainwater. The feature of the flat roof on the garage is to retain rainwater in a very high volume of event on the site, and then slowly drain it into the city sewers so that, basically, things aren't flooded. So the flat roof,
Project, and that doesn't even look, and would that blend with the other homes in your block?
I would say it's fairly common for garages to have a flat roof. I wouldn't say it's happens all the time. Certainly it's cheaper sometimes to build a gable roof with shingles. This would be a membrane rubber roof, so to speak. And as I mentioned, it's not uncommon for garages to have a flat roof. And in this specific condition, it does help us with stormwater design. It's somewhat counterintuitive to think of stormwater being held onto a garage, but it's a common approach that helps keep sewers from flooding during large-scale rain events, which continue to happen more often. So.
Do you have the elevation for the garage? And are there any other 4-bay garages?
I believe the apartment building just to the north is
Yeah.
almost an identical garage.
One side gang.
Car garage, but 1 car per bed.
That's almost exactly, that's what we're proposing.
You're proposing twice the garage.
One thing that we can do to add to the list of the residents there, with the garage, what I would recommend that the trim on the outside, like how you have it here, have it decorative, so it doesn't look, how you can do something with the top, what do you call it? The pyramid, do something that is just not just plain. And again, that's something you can propose to the residents, that instead of just having a straight, that you can do something with the siding or something to make it, look a little more appealing, instead of just a plain.
Just for a moment, Eric, I'm not asking you to table that request, because I live across the street, other people live, we never got notice of this. It is wrong, it should not have happened, and we should not be talking about it. This arrogance to tell me you're going to do what you want to do, and I have to tell you what not to do, go drive the street, look at it, come back with something with integrity. Other than that, we don't really have these kinds of conversations. These are the things that people, I don't care if you got a California investor, I don't give a darn where they come from. But you can't walk into anybody's neighborhood and say, it's because I want it this way. I conformed when I moved in. I built a carriage house behind that house because I wanted to increase it. I put an expensive roof. I put $7,000 in extra roofing on to make sure that I didn't bring down the property values of my neighbors. I put in the siding because it was out of respect. This disrespectful proposal is ridiculous.
And I was on the Near East Area Commission when you did that. You did a nice job. I was at the site hearing. You did a wonderful job. We appreciate that. Now,
But it is a respect.
right
This
now,
is a disrespectful presentation.
but this is a public forum where you can project your opinions, which are very valid, and this is where this gentleman He
You
gets
go
to
back.
present his. And what this does is it gives an opportunity
For
for
dialogue.
him to come back and make changes.
But we didn't even
We
have
needed
notice. If
this.
somebody didn't call me, I would not have known that anything was happening because they violated the law by not putting up the sign.
Well, this,
If I could ask one more question.
we are not obligated to follow that
He was supposed to put up a
process.
sign before
This-
Eric could even have a hearing.
This is a public forum for the community, has nothing to do with the area commission or city. The
Right.
area, the civics are independent of all those obligations. So this is a community forum to express your opinions, which are valid.
Very
Okay?
valid.
We want your opinions. Please come back, don't storm out. This has happened in every development in this neighborhood. We've gone through the same process with everything that's happened. And only by you standing up like you are, will changes be made for what you
Right.
want. So stay, please.
Yes, go
I
ahead.
think I have an opportunity for clarification. You mentioned that these are based upon your clients' design goals, or like your clients' goals, like what are those goals? Are they planning to be owner occupied?
They will own the building. They will be apartments for lease. So they will not, they,
Will there be an owner occupied?
the owner will not be residing in
So
this
they don't
building
have
as
to
far as I know. Sorry, what was, I didn't.
I'm saying, so it's not going to be owner occupied, so it really doesn't matter what it's like, because it's just an investment, and they're not going to.
They are a for-profit.
We look at everything, and that's for them, so that they can make money, so it's really just about getting a little bit of, attention from that. Like, there are options that are marketed that will have an effect on your clients and on the line, but we look at everything.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
And what I think that, again, these are all good valid points. We're gonna have another meeting, of course. We can schedule something that they can come back to, or you can invite them to Miami, association meeting to go through, but we would like to have it where it can come to some resolve as to what you want, what they're able to do, and begin to go that, because the fire now is normal. So, you being upset, that's normal, but now we have to retool that to get what you want. And this is the process. And we've been through it more than once.
We go through it all the time. This is
So,
how it works.
this is how it
In inner
is.
city development neighborhoods, this is how it is. And only when you have people that are as passionate as you are, do you get the neighborhood you want. So that's a good thing.
That's a good
But you gotta work with them because they do own the land.
Listen, Dana, I want to address the notice issue to Miami residents. Commissioner Hutchison knows me from many applications to the New York State Commission, and when I submit an application to the city, I immediately contact NEAC, number one, to let them know of the application and what civic association is the site in. Willis and Dana also know me from other applications. I did not know there's a Miami Residents Association, but Kate Curry D'Souza sent me James Flynn's email address. The email address is not valid. It's coming back as undeliverable. Eric Hutchison got involved to help me get notice to the Miami residents, and that's what started the calls. So, and then I asked Willis, is it okay to invite the Miami residents to this meeting, the Bronzeville meeting, because I couldn't connect with you. So that's what happened on the notice. Eric, you deserve a thank you for making that connection to help me. And I would like to ask for a Miami residents contact that I can contact on email. Is James Flynn here, by the way? No. Okay. So who is the Miami Residents Association contact? But I need names, phone numbers, and email addresses.
Motion on the floor to have this table so we can get proper, get the proper timeline.
Well, it will be tabled today. It will be.
Yeah.
It will be. This isn't going to go forward today. This is the first discussion.
Right.
And we will schedule. Probably the most productive thing would be to schedule with the Miami residents before coming back to Bronzeville.
Right.
I will call the city and complain about the signage because that is the law. That you are supposed to ask for the signage, that you're asking for a variance. The signage was not there. I I see that lot every day. Every night I go by, the signage was not there, it is against the law, and the disrespect and the violation says they don't give a darn, they just want to do what their customer wants. We're not gonna go for it, and if I have to come to the meeting and raise hell with you, I'm gonna raise hell with you. The signage was not there, therefore it should not be heard.
Well, this is the first meeting in a many meeting process, and there will be a sign there by midweek.
Oh, wait, hold on.
I believe that he's actually suggesting that that meeting not take place and that the signage be present for an appropriate amount of time before you ever have anything like that. Like, it shouldn't be seen until next week.
Well, that is
Yeah,
only
no.
applicable
I'm gonna
to
go to
the,
the city.
that's to the, that's to the
There's no
city
sign.
functions, that's city functions.
That's
Okay,
between you
I
and.
went to the city, I'm raising hell,
Right,
there was no
right.
sign.
That's it.
Anybody that says there's a sign is a lie.
Right.
And that's the disrespect. And think about it, the signage, no big deal. But the signage and then his statement, they're just like, we're gonna do what we wanna do.
Okay, now, this is where,
We're here to protect the integrity
Right.
of what you call a jewel.
Right.
Why would we let some disrespectful, out-of-counter interloper do whatever they want to do?
Well, okay.
You don't come into my house and change the color of the paint.
right, but here's how we do that. We are saying right now, the disrespect is one thing, okay, yeah, that, we can put a brakes to that, but here now you have an opportunity to correct that.
They correct it by going back and putting up the signage before you apply to go to that.
Well, okay, that's the city
Because
and
if you go
the-
to the meeting without the signage, I'm telling you, I'm gonna roll on the ground and there ain't nothing gonna be said there.
Okay, well, I mean, that's fine, but what you're saying that you still have to begin to prepare the things that you want the building to look like. Yeah, I understand, okay, once we get through that, then we have to go, you still have to do the work to say what we want when you get to do the right
Order,
things.
Correct. We don't
Okay.
come and beg you to change. You come to us and say, this is what I would like to do. with
Okay,
it."
all right, well, we're gonna let NEAC handle it.
We don't have to leave, but, for another obligation, but we did mention we will be getting the Miami residents together.
Right,
They ain't gonna happen.
okay.
So
Okay.
how do I reach the Miami residents?
So, with that being said, the signage should have a phone number on it.
The sign has a city phone number.
It's not there, nobody will be able to get information, but that's not present. So, like, that avenue was actually your responsibility. And I think that that's actually where a lot of the disrespect was being sensitive.
Okay, well, let me try to address that. There was no disrespect intended about anything. I couldn't reach the designated contact. I'm not talking, hold on just a second. Hold on just a second.
Okay.
The design will need to be looked at, but in terms of process, I don't know anybody on that block of Miami. And NEAC provided me with a name and email that is not valid. Then Commissioner Hutchison started to help me. I asked, how do I reach Miami residents? So I need a name and contact number.
Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna put this in. Eric, you can work with this, and then we can come back. When things are resolved, then we can come back and have another discussion with some improvements and some
Right.
workability
Right.
to make it happen. Let's just do that, because we can be going around and around, and I don't want it to get to that point. We need to resolve it and move, and yay, nay, and go forward. So, Eric,
I will facilitate contact with the Miami residents.
okay.
Okay, so for now at least, I'm working with you? Is that, okay.
Okay, and then again, we will, when that gets resolved, we'll get back and have another meeting
Sure,
with them.
sure.
Okay, all right, this is all good, this is normal, I'm just telling you, this is how it works. And again, thank everyone for coming out, and we appreciate Mrs. Walker. Do you have anything to say about anything that you want to share with us?
If it's all right,
No, okay. Yes.
could I just ask for one point of clarification?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is there a specific thing that we've shown today, is the brick? I doubt. The black siding,
Yeah.
the roof profile, the shape of the windows, anything specific?
One
Okay.
That is a specific.
You can pick any house on the street and just make it look right.
Any house on the well?
But this is something that, again, when they put together a list, they can get back with you with that list. So right now, we just leave it as is. They have,
Residents will get that too.
right, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you very
And
much.
we'd be happy to entertain another discussion and move forward. So with that being said, we thank everyone for coming out, and we look forward to seeing you after the new year, and everyone have a safe and happy Christmas and New Year. Thank you. And may I have a motion to have the meeting adjourned? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Very good. Thank you, my wonderful treasurer.